All right. Hello and welcome to Newly Widowed Programming. Today is our Tuesday call, and I am thrilled to have our very own Kath McCormack. She is a Soaring Spirits Program Coordinator and also will be presenting today on creating a morning practice. So, Kath, thank you so much for joining us and take it away.
Okay. Well, disclaimer, can you hear me okay? I think you were expecting Kelly Lynn, and Kelly Lynn is a comedian, which I possibly am not quite as funny as Kelly is, but I will do my best to make talking about morning practice at least entertaining. So I thought I would start off with kind of an odd joke. My I got the call today, just about an hour ago, that Kelly wasn't able to do the call today. So I'm kind of stepping in without a lot of forethought. But anyway, I was with my mother-in-law, who is 90. She's almost 91. And my husband died 32 years ago, a really long time ago when I was young and my kids were young. And my mother-in-law and I have been friends for a really long time. Anyway, my mother-in-law was widowed when she was 75, so she's almost 91 now. And somebody talked her, I think one of her nun friends or something talked her into going to a support group, which she was really not interested in, but she thought, okay, I'll give it a try. So she goes to the support group, and if any of you have been to an actual support group where you sit in a circle and everybody goes around and kind of says how they're feeling or why they're there. So when they come to my mother-in-law, she says, well, I just want you to know I'm not really widowed. I just came because I thought this might be fun. So anyway, that's my joke. I thought it was appropriate since I am at my mother-in-law's and she's kind enough to be letting me come and do this instead of take care of her and run errands for her, etc. So I'm here to talk about a practice, and it's called creating a morning practice. But what I want to say about that is a practice can be any time of day, and it's a practice, so it doesn't have to be every day. You're practicing having something regular. And many of you may already do some kind of a regular morning practice of some sort. Maybe you don't even know you're doing it. But I'm just going to talk here today a little bit about some ideas. And I always say to people, maybe you don't have time to do anything or feel like you don't have time for a practice, or you don't have the energy, or you don't have any idea what you would do. So please know that it can be as simple as lighting a candle. It can be as simple as reading a little quote. It can be as simple as walking outside and spreading your arms and asking for support from the universe, or listening to the birds. It can be as simple as doing just a child's pose of yoga. It doesn't have to be a big deal. The beautiful thing about a practice is that it helps ground us. And for me, it's been a long time practice for me. When my husband was dying in the hospital, we had an incredible social worker named Bonnie, and she came up to me one day. I think I was in Rick's room, and she just kind of shoved this journal at me and said, "Just write." And I had done some journaling in the past when I was younger, I don't know, in college or something, but I hadn't journaled much since then. And so I did. I started journaling, and it wasn't pretty, the things that I was writing, but it helped me. And I think maybe for me that was a beginning of something that made a difference for me. And my friends will say, including Mary, will say that at this point I have a very elaborate morning practice, and I love my practice. It works for me, and I don't always do all of it every day. And there are some days when when I'm not able to practice. In fact, this morning I was with my little god grandchildren for the first time in almost a year, and I got to spend the night in the trundle bed with them. And so this morning, for that reason, I didn't do my practice. And so I started looking at it when I was told I was going to do this today. And one thing that I do every day typically is I have something called the Essene Book of Days. And the nice thing about a book that already has a quote or something is that you can just read something. And for me, that was grounding. Someone gave me that book. Like, I think I've been doing this for maybe 25 years. I get the book every year and it has the same quotes. They're seasonal. It's really beautiful. And sometimes the quotes work for me, and sometimes I think, oh, that's boring, or it doesn't, I don't connect with it. And it kind of becomes like a friend. So I'm going to read this morning's because I can. The meditation, there's a morning meditation and an evening blessing. And so it's kind of nice to just have something that you can read if you don't have energy to do anything else. So this morning's practice says, from each moment I draw life, from each living being I draw love, from the earth and the sun I draw nourishment, from each I receive and to each I joyfully give. For the web that connects each to me weaves its tapestry throughout my being, uniting me with all. Separateness is an illusion. So there's also always a picture of it's seasonal. And, I get out my favorite pens, my colored pens, sometimes my crayons, and I color the picture. And that, again, that is a comforting thing for me. So there are a million different ways to have a practice, and I'm going to talk about a bunch of them. And I'm hoping that you will share some of your ideas when we get to the Q&A. So let's go on if I can figure out how to go. Oh, gee, I hope I can figure out. Let's see. Mary would tell you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Remember the little arrows at the very bottom? Yep.
Yeah.
Keep going all the way to the left bottom corner.
Where it says mute? No.
No, on your slide, you're creating a morning practice slide.
No. Somehow I don't really see that. That's so sad.
Go all the way to the bottom and it'll pop up.
Come on, pop up. Thank you. Okay. I'm 70. This is not my first.
And Kath, we can't see you anymore.
Is that okay?
You shut your video off.
Well, I was saying. Oh, I was thinking you wouldn't make me have to be seen anymore.
Oh, I can do that for you.
No, I'm kidding. It's fine. Okay. So here is one. This is a practice that we've done in our leadership team. And so I have my favorite candle. I have my favorite glass hearts that I use because I have a quote that says, love doesn't die, people do. Love is recycled from one life, from one heart to another. And so that for me, just even when I pick up my recycled glass heart, it grounds me in the love that I still share with my partner, and the love that I share with all the people that I work with, all my friends, my family. So that even going to some place in your house and picking up something that is meaningful to you as a practice can just ground you and comfort you. And the thing about that kind of thing is that it does comfort us. And we need comfort, especially in early grief. There is nothing better than comfort. And you might see also on this picture something, Dove candies. I don't know how many of you know about Dove chocolates, but they're really delicious. If you come to Camp Widow, you will know about them because I'm always handing them out. And they have a little quote on the inside. So that's a good way to have a practice too. Maybe you don't want to have chocolate first thing in the morning, but you could have a Dove chocolate if you're not allergic and read whatever the quote is. So it can be as simple as anything. Okay, I'm going to, I hope, try to, okay, so Mary.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Yep, there you go. Yep, you got it.
So I talked a little bit about Essene Book of Days. There are lots of different readings that can be helpful. If you don't feel like trying to figure out something to do for a practice, you can have some books. There's Essene Book of Days. I love Mark Nepo. He has a book that has quotes for every day of the year. And you can use the same book year after year. And he's an incredible poet and has struggled with lots of health issues himself and really writes beautifully. a book called The Book of Awakening, and Thich Nhat Hanh has a beautiful book called No Fear, No Death. I'm sure you have books that mean something to you, or grief books. There are lots of grief books that have quotes every day or have a suggestion of something you can do every day. So tons of different ways. Poetry is something for me that is also comforting, and these are just three of my favorite poets. Marie Oliver isn't on that list, but she is a favorite poet of mine, and Marie lost her partner maybe several years ago, and she writes beautifully about grief and beauty. Anyway, so sometimes just having a book of poetry and opening it to a poem and reading the poem, sometimes they will really resonate and sometimes they may not. But that's another way of just doing something really simple if you don't feel like you want to do any elaborate kind of thing. Music. So I know music can be kind of a mixed bag, especially in early grief. In the beginning, after Rick died, I really had a hard time with music because everything reminded me either of the time when he was dying or our happy times together. It was painful. And as time went on, music also was a comfort to me. I had a song that The Walk of Life, Dire Straits, that kind of became my theme song. I just inadvertently started listening to the song, and it's really, the walk of life. So it just helped me remember that I was still living and I needed to keep walking. And so I would crank that song up and sing it at the top of my lungs, and it gave me comfort. I also have a Spotify playlist that's called Kath's Happiness. And, Spotify is really easy, or any of those music programs. It's really easy to kind of grab songs that you like or that give you comfort. And there's so many songs that talk about how difficult it is to go on. And one of my favorites is called You Can Do This Hard Thing. Anyway, I have a bunch of really great songs in that playlist, and I love them. Chanting can be good, sound healing, drumming. So music and sound can be a really great thing. My son, who is now 34, but was in 3.5 when his dad died, really struggled in his early years, and he continues to struggle somewhat. It's just part of who he is. And he's a beautiful soul. And some of you may have seen him do some drumming for some Soaring Spirits things. But he got involved in creating a ritual for himself, and he has really a beautiful ritual that he does every day that is kind of a combination of things. But one of them, he lives in Hawaii, and one of them is drumming, and it's a spiritual drumming, and it really kind of calls from him, to be the best person he can be, and it also connects him to the earth. So for him, that's a beautiful thing. And I know sometimes male, female, I've worked with men who are grieving, who feel like, that's not their thing to have a daily practice or to have a practice. But I invite you to really think in a broader way. And I suspect there are already things that you either love to do or that feel good that might be something that could become a ritual, or maybe already is for you. So I'm just inviting you to kind of think outside the box in terms of if you're at all interested in ritual. Okay, oops, did I go too far? So one thing that I do every day is, I've always had a to-do list, and, it talks about all the things I have to do for work and all the things I want to do in my life. Exercise, I usually put that down, and I'm a swimmer and also a walker. But if I write it on my to-do list, I'm more likely to do it. And I always have a million things for Camp Widow or for Soaring Spirits that I have to do. And I always try to remind myself that I want to write some gratitudes down. But what I do with my to-do list is I break it in half. So I have the date at the top, and then I have Kath on one side and the universe on the other. And so the things that I have to do, I write on the left side of my paper, and on the right side of my paper, I have the things that I want the universe to do. And sometimes I just write help. Sometimes I write things like world peace, an end to COVID, comfort for the suffering, no more prejudice. You know, I ask for what I need, a healthy planet with enough for all. I mean, I write the kinds of things that I don't feel like I can necessarily do, but I'm hoping the universe, in combination with me and all the other people in the world, can do. So I really like my to-do list. It just really is a good thing for me. And it just reminds me that I'm not here. It's not just me, that I can call on others to support the things that I either want to do or need to do. You know, I always am, you know, thinking about family or friends, people who I want to ask for healing or comfort. I always on my list, I ask for comfort for the suffering. So anyway, I love my to-do list. You might think about trying it. Okay. All right. This is a really beautiful, I think, altar that one of our widowed people from Mexico puts together for Day of the Dead. And most of you, I'm sure, know what Day of the Dead is, but it's a celebration of life for people who have made their transition to the other side. And this is such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful altar that I wanted to share it. And it's more elaborate than the altar that I have in my house. And there are so many ways that you can have an altar. Maybe you have pictures of your person. Maybe you have special rocks or stones or shells. Maybe you have candle. You know, there are so many things that can be part of that. And so sometimes a daily practice can just be walking over to that place where you have your cherished things and just being there and maybe asking the universe for support, or just being grateful for the love that you share. So that I think is a beautiful thing. Meditation, often people love, and meditation has many different forms. It doesn't have to be a deep practice. I mean, it can be, but it doesn't have to be. And I don't know how many of you know about tapping, but I'm a huge tapping fan. The Tapping Solution is, I have a tapping app, and I tap when I'm struggling. I tap when I have something that I'm working through. It's a really great thing. If you're at all interested in it, I'm sure we'll be doing some tapping, offering some tapping things, both probably at camp and also on some of these calls. So it's a cool thing to consider, and it's so simple to do. In fact, you don't even have to use words. You can just tap, and tapping, really what it does, it taps through, I'm not going to be able to say this correctly, but it kind of helps reprogram your brain it quiets down the anxiety and quiets your body down. So it's a cool thing. Visualization is also something that people do. There's so many programs where you can just listen to a visualization. Same with guided imagery. So there are such simple things that you don't have to work at very hard, but that can help you to just kind of have a way to calm yourself, or just kind of focus at a particular time during the day. Okay. You know, Mary, how am I doing here?
It looks like you hit Zoom. So
Yeah.
just go over a couple more back to the arrows. There you go.
Okay. I can barely see the arrow. Again,
I know it's
so
faint.
sorry, everyone. This is not my strength. Okay, here's an altar. And morning yoga. I really like doing a pose or two in the morning. I also have a little 15-minute yoga thing that I do sometimes, yoga for beginners. That is a nice way to settle. And so you might think about that. Maybe some of you already do yoga. There's something wonderful called restorative yoga, which is really, when I used to do retreats for people, I always had some restorative yoga, which is It's more of a restorative kind of yoga. So you're not working hard, but you're really relaxing your body. They use a lot of pillows, and it's really, really comforting. So that's, of course, there's everything online these days. So you can definitely get a restorative yoga tape or somebody who does restorative yoga. I've also been lucky enough to live in places where there were people teaching grief yoga, and we have some wonderful presenters who offer grief yoga. I don't know if you've already had been able to see any of those people, but it's a wonderful way to just kind of integrate your body, mind, and spirit in terms of just kind of being present with your grief and being able to relax around it. So uh, I'm a fan. Self massage is easy. I I love to have my head rubbed, so I often just do some self massage with my head. I have one of those kind of metal things that give you a head massage. There's also the kind of massage implements that you can put under your foot and just kind of move your foot. There are a lot of ways that you can be touched, um, that you can massage yourself that are comforting. So anyway, I just include that because sometimes that feels good. Cards are a really, really, really simple way to have a practice. You don't need to do anything fancy. I don't know if you have seen angel cards, but they're so simple. They just have these little angels. They're not religious. They're just these happy little angels. And you typically, I pick 3 cards. If I have some angel cards in a bowl and I pick 3 cards for the day. Some people pick 1 card and they say something, maybe it's humor, maybe it's laughter, maybe it's trust. There are a whole bunch of different words, and sometimes they can kind of inform how we walk through our day. There's also the newest cards that I've been using are called Wings of Wisdom. They are so fabulous. I really love them. There are also some cards that are specifically for kind of connecting with the other side, if that's your thing, called Postcards from Spirit. I like those cards too. And we have a resilience deck that I think we typically have in our bookstore. Mary would know better. Do you know if we have any of those Soaring
Yep.
Spirits resilience deck cards? So they're
Yep.
really great because we have developed those through our resilience center, so they're tested. So if you pick a card, it will give you a suggestion of something that you could do that day that kind of improves your resilience. So that's a cool thing to do too. Really simple. Okay. We already talked a little bit about an altar. Oh, sorry. I was just looking at my notes. And Mary, yes, I will say a little bit about me at some point. It sounds like
I
oh,
I
I'm
did
not.
add it into the chat just so they know who you are.
Oh, you already did? Good.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That's great. Good, because I really don't like talking about myself. Anyway, an altar can be so many different things: totems, photos, candles, memorial items. It's really great to make it personal. And I always have a gratitude bowl. I don't always use it, but when my kids were little and when I work with families, I often suggest to them that they go with their family or themselves if it's for them and go and just get a beautiful bowl someplace that they really, really love. And then I just make and I also get beautiful material cards or just use beautiful paper and cut little cards. And then when I'm feeling grateful at all, I will write what I'm grateful for and stick it in the bowl. And I used to do that with my kids, and that was a really nice thing for us to do together. And it's a really nice thing for me too, because if you write some things you're grateful for, and it might just be that you get to go to bed in a few hours, or that you made it through yesterday, or that the sun is shining, or that, I mean, simple, simple stuff. It could be something big that you had a beautiful love. and that that love continues. So the great thing about a gratitude bowl is, one, you can kind of see your gratitudes growing, and two, when you do not feel grateful at all, you can go into that bowl and remember some things that you have been grateful for. So I appreciate practicing gratitude, and I understand that the idea of being grateful when you're newly widowed is a really, really difficult thing. You know, there's so much research about how good gratitude is for you and how important it is to practice gratitude. So I give you permission to take what resonates and leave the rest with this, with the things that I'm saying, and also to give yourself credit for the fact that you made it through yesterday and that you've made it through a lot of today. And so gratitude does not have to be something fancy, and it does not need to mean I love my life, this is fabulous, because how could it be? But if you can at least maybe open yourself just the tiniest bit to gratitude, it it can be it can be a nice part of your practice. Flowers are so great. And, you know, I'm lucky I live in the country, so I can go out and pick flowers. I had a friend who died a few years ago, and she used to, when we were in college together, and she used to go on runs in the morning, and she would pick these little bouquets of these just tiny little flowers, and she would bring them home. And so I call them Mary Lou bouquets. But it's so easy to pick a little tiny bouquet, and for me, it's comforting. So flowers can be good too, or leaves, or whatever. People who have pets, that can be a really nice way. You know, you can integrate your pet into it. Certainly, you can be grateful for your pets, and sometimes just, I know I've seen videos where dogs do yoga with their people, and that's funny. So, I'm going to stop talking. If you can see this picture, this is one of my favorite places in the world, Mendocino, California. I live in Northern California, and I love this picture because my husband's ashes are out in the ocean, kind of past that big rock, and it's a beautiful, beautiful place. We were married in Mendocino, and my husband has a bench there. Anyway, it's a great place for me, and I feel really close to him when I'm there. So I'm going to read this little quote. Gathering closer together, they leaned in further. There was comfort in the group. Fears could be shared, love could be held, and light could be remembered. And I would just like to say to each of you how grateful I am that you come to this Zoom group, and how grateful I am that you support each other. And I know that as you move through your grief, you will continue to support each other, and you will continue to be able to practice your own self-care and have your own practice that that sustains you, and that will build your resilience moving forward. So I think that's good. Can I stop? I'm not going to do the Apache blessing today because I think I have said enough. So I'm going to stop sharing. Okay.
Thank you, Kath, as always. I just thank you for coming and being here and jumping in at the last minute and sharing your wisdom. We like to call Kath our own personal Buddha. So I just love that you come and can share all of this with our newly widowed group. So thank you so much.